Hey everybody, Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts. I got a super quick, kind of scrappy video for you. I'm going to add some Chalk Couture paste to this using the watercolor technique. I've been a little bit obsessed with watercolor lately, but mostly I've been doing it on acrylic surfaces. So I want to show you what it looks like to do it on a wood surface. So I don't have my normal camera set up, so I'm just using my phone. I'm gonna angle this down here so you can see what I'm doing. So this is the chalk clipboard stand that, oh goodness, see, I never think to check these things before I start recording. Yes, this is still available on the website. The transfer is part of the December club project, so it's not available, but there is a tulip A-size transfer that's available in the spring release that just came out. That would work really well for this. And then I have meadow, squeeze, and papaya for this. So we're gonna use, sorry, my dog is behind me because I have food. So I'm gonna take a little bit of water, put it on my brush. I'm gonna use this wider brush for the leaves because I don't need to be quite so careful. The papaya and squeeze, I'm gonna kind of do a combination, and I'm getting a little bit of the paste on my color tray here. I do have a separate cup for water to clean the brush so that I keep my other water paste free. I'm gonna get a little bit of this meadow, and then you just fill in the white space with your color. And I like doing this on acrylic because it adds some dimension. On an acrylic surface, you can do both sides. So I've done like one color on the front, and then I'll let that dry and turn it over and add another color on the back. And you get that nice visual shift. Doesn't give you the same look on a wood surface, but it's very cool. And this is an easy way to add different colors, to be able to do a design in different colors. If you don't like paste and peel, sometimes I'm not, sometimes that's just not what I want. I like this because it's giving the black outline, and then you're just dropping some color in, which makes for a nice contrast. And you can fill in as much or as little as you want. You can make it as dark or as light as you want. The more you water down, just like with real watercolor, the more you water it down, the lighter the color is going to be. If you use a color, if you get a little bit of color and it's too dark, then you can just get a little water on your brush and try to spread it out a little bit. And then if it's too light, you can just let it dry and get a little bit more water on your brush and go back over it. And that'll darken the color, deepen the color just a little bit. I'll show you all what that looks like at this point. Have that nice green in there. So I got some of those leaves filled in, and what I decided to do was to take another shade of green. So I'm going to add a little bit of moss to this with a smaller brush to get into some of the areas where the veins are just smaller in the design. Trying to not cover the black, so we want to keep that outline. And you can also, you could directly mix the colors. I could put a little moss and a little meadow in my tray and mix them together just to make a completely different shade of green. Turn this around here so I can come at this a little bit better and not risk rubbing my hand against the surface. Okay, so I have the leaves all done. Again, used a combination of meadow and moss. And then for the flowers, I'm going to use papaya and squeeze. And I'm going to start with, actually, you know what? I need to grab one more color. I'm going to put a little camel in the middle. Go with something a little bit different here. I can use this brush for that. Now, how much water you need sometimes too depends on how thick your paste is. So my moss paste wasn't really thick to begin with, so I didn't use as much water as I did on the meadow. And it will also depend on how dark or light you want the color to begin with. So on this camel, my paste is not that thick. I don't need a whole lot of water, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the black shows through, so I don't want it very dark. So I am going to use some water to thin that out. And again, the color trays are really nice for that. So I'm using some camel for the center. Trying to figure out which brush I was using. I had to pause the video for a second. And so I think I was talking about, depending on how thin your paste already is, will kind of dictate how much water you need. And my camel is not real thick, just kind of like on its own, but I don't want the color in the center here to be real dark. I want you to be able to see those, the black. The other thing that you can do is, you know, just to keep adding layers is, you know, you can watercolor something in, and if I wanted, I could lay the transfer back down. I don't want to hold this too much at an angle because I don't want it to run, but I could let this dry, lay the transfer back down, and just reapply black on top of that. You can do that across any of the colors and that would give you just even more dimension. The other thing I've seen done, which is really cool, and I still need to try it myself, is to chalk the design in a very neutral color. So I would chalk the design, say in Dune, and then I would go in and I would paint over the design in my color. So this leaf, for example, right here would be in Dune, and I would take green and I would paint the whole thing. And then you let that dry, and then you put your transfer back on top of it and chalk over it in black, and then you get the kind of the outline. So that really only works for designs like this where you have outline colors. It wouldn't work for everything. It kind of depends on how the negative space is distributed in your transfer. All right, so we're gonna get the papaya and the squeeze, and I'm not gonna mix them together in my tray, but I'm gonna mix them together as I'm painting it in, so that we've got some dimension here as well. So, and then I'm going to kind of alternate which color is more prominent in which petal. And then also kind of change up how light or dark I'm making these colors. So I'm going to go around with the papaya first and kind of put that where I want it. And then go back in and add in the squeeze, which is a brighter brighter orange. Okay, so here is our finished product. So we've got a nice mix of the papaya and the squeeze. Let's see if I can get some better lighting on that. In that flower, and then I just did the small unopened one right here, just all in squeeze, just because it was so small, and I got a little too much water in the camel in the center, so you can't really see the black in the center as well as I would like. So once that dries, I might take that transfer and lay it back down just very carefully on that spot, and try to go back over it in black to make that pop a little more. Or I could take some black paste and a very thin paintbrush or my tool with the squeegee tip on it and just kind of outline some of that. Or just leave it the way it is because it looks fine. We'll see. So I'm gonna pull this all the way back. So this is what that watercolor technique looks like on a wood surface. This surface is like I said, this is the clipboard stand. So I think we're dry enough here for me to be able to attach it. Now, It comes with a dowel rod that I have misplaced. Comes with the dowel rod that goes in this hole in the back to make it stand up. And then there's a hole drilled all the way through on the front that is to hold the clip in place. And if I can get the bolt apart here, I'll show you how this goes. You could also just run some twine or ribbon through that hole if you didn't want to use it as the clipboard stand and maybe wanted to use it as a, you know, as a piece of wall art. So you just take the clip and you put it underneath that washer that it comes with, and put the bolt through the hole that's drilled in, and then secure it on the back. So that it stays in place. And I'll put the dowel rod in there, which I did earlier, so I know it goes in there. There we go. So it'll stand up like that. And so then you can attach little notes to it, leave honey-do lists or notes for your kids or notes for yourself or your grocery list. If you're going to use it that way, I would recommend sealing the surface, just so that if you're taking things on and putting it off, it doesn't scratch your paste. All right, so I never like to say goodbye like that. All right, so that's it. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be back again here soon. Bye.